Well, hello to the Deforest team, and today we're going to introduce you to MUMA, Empowering Working Moms. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble with
Yeah, we can't see
watching the
your.
slices.
We can see the PowerPoint, but it's not in share mode, so we can't really make out what the slide says. There
Here
you
it
go. I
is.
think that should work.
MUMA, Empowering Working Moms. What is MUMA? MUMA is both an adjective and an acronym describing the working woman in Mexico, since we are expected to work as if we didn't have children and to raise children as if we didn't have to work.
Julia is a 33 years old mama who lives in Puebla. She's a single mom and she has two daughters. Julia works as a seamstress. She earns $9 per day and her schedule is from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. with 1 hour to have a lunch. She leaves her daughter at a public daycare center, and at 3 p.m. a neighbor picks them up and they stay with her until their mom gets off work. She also works as a house cleaner to earn extra income.
1 woman out of 4 women who work or have worked have experienced some act of violence in the workplace in Mexico, and unfortunately, Julia is one of them.
Recently, she was called by the Human Resources area to make her sign a voluntary waiver. She did not sign it, but now she's allowed not to enter. To change her mind, her family invited her to a restaurant in the area where she lives. On the bathroom mirror, she found a MUMA's advertisement with a QR code and some messages. Julia, like other working moms, also saw the MUMA's campaign through social media. She trusted the project because she recognized it. So she decided to log in to the digital platform.
Why MUMA? Because in Mexico there are many issues. Some of them are, for example, weak rule of law, poor awareness of labor rights, workplace violence, discrimination, and intimidation. The legal advice can be not really affordable, and sometimes the legal discourse is quite complicated, among other problems.
Imagine 10 Mexican families. Of these families, in 7 houses, the woman is in charge of domestic and care activities, whom also have full-time jobs. In addition, 12.7% of women face discrimination at work due to their pregnancy, and 11.5% of women who are looking for a job were asked to provide a pregnancy test as a requirement for work.
There are 57 million workers in Mexico, and 49% are women. 15.8 million are mothers. It truly demonstrates the importance of MUMAs within the Mexican economy. And Luisa, we cannot hear you.
We have it, this is our digital platform. We have it both for laptops and computers and smartphones. Here is a community from women to women where they can have a lot of legal advice, resources, a pink bag, which is jobs specifically for women, a lot of data and services. They have our backup. Also, in case some women don't have access to a smartphone or a computer, we have a cell phone number which they can call to get legal advice instead of a chatbot as if they would with a smartphone.
Julia completed the course in basic labor law and she obtained a badge certifying her skills. She contacted us through a chatbot and received 3 sessions with one of our allied lawyers. She has to decide between going to a legal instance or reach an agreement with the company. Thanks to the legal advice, she decided to reach an agreement, and she was able to negotiate a correct and fair settlement.
On which sustainable development goals do we focus? Number 4, quality education. 5, gender equality. 8, decent work and economic growth. 10, reduced inequalities. 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions. And finally, 17, partnerships for the goals.
How will we intervene? We have a lot of different approaches, such as diffusion through social media, cost affordability, lawyer networks, and academies, such as business allies and public sector.
These are our competitors, but we do not consider them that way. We saw them as partners, so we can build together. Some of them are law firms, pro bono networks, networks of women entrepreneurs, organizations, and finally, YouTubers, bloggers, and social networks.
Our scope. We have our scope from 6 months up to 24 months, in which we are planning to achieve a lot of registered logins, as well as women completing badges in basic labor law knowledge.
We can think of different advantages for our firm, such as it can be a good advertisement, a good tool to identify potential new clients, facturable clients. Also, it has a good social impact image for our firm and also help us to enhance our culture of pro bono work, which is free legal advice. It can help us to optimize our process to identify repetitive requests and save time. It can help us to create internal and external alliances. And finally, it can help us to collect data to better address the needs of our clients.
1 minute.
We're the Deforest team. I myself am Ana Luisa Rojas. I am an associate in labor law, specialized in labor law. Next is Pili Hernandez, who works for the human resources area, along Maureen Barsik, who works for the pro bono team, and our associate and founder, Jaime Lopez.
We can also count on our internal allies from different backgrounds, and we're also proud to have a gender equality team. And finally, MUMA is more labor rights, more knowledge, more justice, more community, synergies, interior services, and everything for better quality of life.
So this is MUMA, we are MUMA, and we are empowering working moms. Thanks.
Okay, excellent presentation. Perfect timing too. You guys are right at the end point. So great job. So we'll get feedback from our judges. And Helen, if you don't mind, we'll ask you to kick it off.
Sure. So thank you. Yeah, I really love this story that you used at the beginning to provide the statistics and give us an illustration of the situation you're addressing in Mexico. I think that was a really lovely approach. And for me, like I'll remember that. I'll remember the numbers and I'll remember Julia. And the fact that she's the working mother. I had some, as you were, the flow of your presentation, I understand why you do it now that you've got to the end of it, but I had some questions like, are you a law firm? Okay, what SDGs and what metrics? But then you did kind of get to all of those pieces as you moved through it and you answered my questions. So I don't really disagree with the flow of your presentation, the way you set it up, but I did, those things entered my mind as I was watching it. So I think like my question would be, do you have this up and running, or is your firm committed to funding it, or is this still just a prototype that's not out there?
We are working on pro bono cases, not specifically labor, but part of them are. We have the backup from our firm, but this is also a prototype. We don't have the platform yet.
Thank you.
Exactly. And also we want to work on the platform with some allies, partners, external partners, because that's actually one of the main objectives, to create true alliances, because we know that there are actual organizations working on pro bono cases, but also on facturable cases. And the idea is to create a true synergy with other organizations and law firms.
Great. Simon, can we go to you next for feedback?
Yes, Helen, I agree with what you said. I was going to say something similar. I think there was something in the pedagogy that didn't quite work with the flow, but I think you got there in the end, and it's super clear what you're saying. I had two comment-stroke questions. One was, you kind of addressed it, but I guess some of the most vulnerable women would be maybe not have access to the technology, right? But I think you did answer that. So with solutions like this, it's important to be super aware that maybe not everyone has a mobile phone or a smartphone or the technology needed, but I think you said you're onto that. And then you said it perfectly. When I saw that slide that said competitors, I was like, no, they're not competitors. They're your allies. They're the ones that are going to make it work. So I think you did say that in the end. Because for me, the platform will really work is if you get everyone on side and together you solve the problem. So I think you said that again. When I first saw the slide, I was like, no, but I think you've got it. So great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, actually, we truly we thought a lot about the fact that there's a huge gap, digital gap here in Mexico, and we know that not every woman can have access to proper internet connection. That's why we are considering creating these alliances to maybe work with organizations to have access to some of the communities, and that's why we consider having a proper phone number to attend some of the cases, which are quite particular. No, depending on the situation of the MUMAs or of the women, we have to adapt our work and depending on the case actually. So we will work on that on the future to see what works better, but.
And you may want to look, there's quite a few case studies during COVID-19 of using quite basic technology with education to get to some very rural areas in Bangladesh, for example, where you just use a normal phone. So you could maybe look at those case studies for some inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Mary, do you want to jump in with some feedback?
Sure, I think I agree with Helen and Simon. Amazing presentation. I had a question. Yes, the technology part of it, that was already addressed. I had a question on it slipping out my mind, but this is still in prototype stage. So I was interested to know, perhaps in the next 1 year, what will success look like for this initiative?
Well, the plan. If you want to go, Mary.
Go ahead.
We have a 2-year-old plan for the startup. I mean, we're planning up to 100 logins as a prototype to see how it works, how women respond to it, how long we're going with this, and from this, knowing how to get to more rural places, to more women who don't have access to technologies. So it's a step by step, but we're planning to get there in 2 years approx.
Thank you.
Great, and thank you to the team. Great presentation and a very interesting project. As we've seen over and over again, there are many very supportive comments in the chat. So again, what you're doing is resonating with people who are out there watching this. Okay, and thank you to the judges, of course, for more fantastic feedback.